Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today's video, I am finally talking to you about language arts curriculum and why we don't use it, my thoughts behind why we don't use it, and kind of what we do for language arts instead. So stick around. So if you guys watched what video was that? I don't remember. That's terrible. I should probably remember. It was a collab video on things we don't do. That's what it was. And one of the things that I had mentioned in that video was language arts curriculum. And I did have a couple of people ask for me to just kind of expand on that a little bit. So that is going to be today's video. I will start off by saying my daughter is almost 7, and we have used a formal language arts curriculum in the past, kind of right when we were first getting into the idea of homeschool. And I mean, we made it work because I was just getting into homeschool. And so, I was just kind of testing out different things. And so, I went into it very open, but it was a popular curriculum, that I had kind of seen around. And I figured we're just gonna go with it and we'll see what happens. We did not love it. I don't even think we completed half of it because it was too much. So that, as I mentioned in that other video, it kind of left a sour taste in my mouth, which in all honesty, it really did. The idea of a formal language arts curriculum at, a younger age, I didn't dig it. I wasn't about it. However, that's not to say that we don't have any kind of language arts happening in our homeschool. The way that I view language arts in the younger years, it's unavoidable in homeschool. And as I kind of go through these, you'll see what I mean and kind of how I approach language arts for us. However, if you've been around, you know that we use Gather Round. And so included in our Gather Round units is some language arts. Generally, the older units are going to have really, to me, a more robust language arts section and things that give you more options within the language arts subject. And I think that is good. I like that, and I think it was a good update that they did. And I'm really hoping that as time goes and they're able to kind of revise some of the older units, that the things they've implemented in these newer ones, the recent ones that have come out, they kind of go back and put those back into the older ones. Because I do think it's fantastic. And there are certain elements of language arts that I feel are very important at a younger age that I was not seeing in the Gather Round units. So again, I'm not saying that, no language arts at all. I just don't want to have a language arts specific subject. But quite honestly, we don't have specific subjects that we do anyway, right? We, other than math, we use Gather Round and unit studies. Gather Round most often, but we are starting to kind of venture out and use some other unit studies as I'm becoming more comfortable with my ability. And the idea of unit studies, that was a new concept for us. So I felt comfortable with Gather Round. I started there. We love it. We still use them. We will continue to use them for the foreseeable future. But I just feel more comfortable that I can kind of step out of Gather Round a little bit and just get us some different things. So we don't have a science curriculum, a history curriculum, a math well, we do have a math curriculum, but we just don't have individual curriculums for any of those subjects, language arts included. Along with that, we did also use the Ready to Read program from Gather Round. We were actually, I don't want to say like one of the first people to use it, because I don't know if that's actually true or not, but we did use it fairly soon after it was initially released. So we pretty well did that right away, and that was great for us. It was fantastic. And of course, at that level, the Ready to Read is primarily language arts, because that's what they're learning. They're learning how to read. They're learning, they're focusing on handwriting. There was a little bit of math included. Of course, you get a little, a touch in science, a touch in history and things like that. But for the majority in the Ready to Read program, it is language arts. And I felt like that laid a really good, solid foundation for her. And I'm trying to stay on track and make it make sense, but I'm also kind of jumping around here too. My daughter is a phenomenal reader. That's just one of those things that kind of have come naturally to her, and it just makes sense to her. So while we were going through the Ready to Read program, she could read, but it really helped solidify concepts for her. And so it was beneficial in that way, but I wouldn't say it necessarily taught her to read, if that makes sense, because she was kind of already doing that. And again, it didn't take much instruction from me, to be quite honest, because it clicked and it made sense for her. And so I don't need language arts in the sense of reading either, because that's just something that she has kind of taken on her own, and she doesn't really need formal instruction on that at this point. So that kind of pushes us out, I feel like, of the language arts curriculums. Maybe that would be a little more geared towards her age, being like that 6-7-year-old age. Just because a lot of the reading that's included at those age groups, she really has mastered already. So we wouldn't really need those parts. And then of course comes in the writing portion of language arts for younger. And I also need to say this too. I am not a teacher. I've never been a teacher. And I only have one 6-year-old that I am homeschooling. So I've never homeschooled anybody else. So I do not have 13 years of knowledge of language arts curriculum, to say, these are things that are included and not included, and these are concepts and things like that. I don't know. This is just what works for us. And so if you know of curriculums that, language arts is specifically just writing and forming sentences and paragraphs and nouns and adjectives and things like that, feel free to leave that in the comments, as that may be something I look into, towards the future. But I feel like from what I have seen of language arts curriculums, it's kind of a combination of all of that, just because you kind of have to be able to read in order to write, and to write well, you have to be able to read, and so I feel like those mesh together a lot at the younger years, and we just don't need the reading portion. So I just kind of a little disclaimer kind of information there. In saying that, she is not as, what's the word? Excited. She's not as excited to write as she is to read. She would much prefer to read because she feels confident in that versus writing. So, this is kind of twofold. She is a little bit of a reluctant writer, and because of that, I don't feel that the formal structure of a curriculum would mesh very well. And I say that because I try and keep writing a little more creative. I like to have options, just kind of let's just get something, of these options, what are you feeling today, And because the point is I just want you, like, just give me something, you know what I mean? And so I feel like if we had something formal, that we would press real hard against that. And then we're not getting anything accomplished at that point. I also, and again, with the, being a little bit more reluctant of a writer, I wanted to have mastery of that first before adding any other concepts, ideas, information. Let's focus on writing a complete sentence. I don't need a formal curriculum to help me help her write a complete sentence. I am very capable of that on my own, but I need her to do that first before we start deciding which one is a noun, which one is a verb. If that happens to come up in our unit, with some of those language arts pages, of course we'll do it and we'll go through it, but I'm not ready to move into that and start mastering those concepts, because we need to kind of hang back a little bit at writing sentences, and we need to focus on our handwriting. That's another thing too. Obviously, she's almost 7, and so handwriting has significantly improved. And I'll show you what we use, and I've got our things here that I use, for our language arts. But handwriting has gotten a lot better. And so this is just one of those things we've had to just kind of slow down and move at her pace with. And I just don't think a formal curriculum, I don't think we're at a spot where we're ready to put that in, because again, I need her just focusing on the basics, on mastery of, a capital letter at the beginning, and finger spaces and proper punctuation, all of those things. I don't need a formal curriculum to get me to help her with those things. And I only have her. And so I'm able to put a little bit more focus and attention there. So that's just where we're at with it. So what I do use for handwriting, we just picked this up this year. And so far I have seen an improvement. Like I said, part of it is due to her age, I think. And then the other part of it is just repetition, right? She's just been doing it for a long time, and obviously it has gotten better. So we are currently using level 1 handwriting from The Good and the Beautiful. And she's done really great with it. What I like with this is it literally requires me to do nothing. I can just tell her, hey, go do a page in your handwriting book, or go do 2 pages in your handwriting book. She can go do it on her own, and then that's that. I don't have to read the directions for her, none of that stuff. It's very simple and easy for her to follow, and it's just practicing letters. And then obviously, as she goes a little bit further, now it has her doing words, and then she's doing small sentences and things like that. So it does gradually increase, and I like that. And this is not overwhelming for her. Again, just trying to keep it, what are you in the mood for? Like let's find one. If she will give me 2 of these, then we'll do 2 of these, and then just a small something out of either one of these, and that's good. I'm good with that. So I will try and link all of these in the description for you guys if I can still find them. They will be in there. These I grabbed maybe off Amazon. I know I got this one off of Amazon. So this is 52 picture writing prompts for kids. This one honestly goes kind of back and forth. This is one of just, again, what are you in the mood for? Can you give this to me? If you cannot fill this out properly and give me, good effort on this, then find another one, because I don't want you to do it just to do it. I want you to do it and give me a good effort. You know what I mean? But this one is cool. She does like this one from time to time. So it gives her like this cute little picture, and they're all different, you know, all the little pictures are different. And then some questions to answer to kind of help her build a little story here. So who or what is in the picture? Where are they? What are they doing? What time of day is it? How are they feeling? And what are they thinking? And then here is like, she could use that as, you know, maybe drawing another scene or a friend, or, you know, just extra kind of planning pages there. And then here is her page to write her story based off of the questions that she answered. What I do like is it does give her this little checklist down here. Is it neat? Are there capitals, punctuation, spelling, and finger spaces? So again, I really like that. This one just requires a little bit more of her. And so just depends on how she's feeling. This one, I want to say, honestly, she got this for like a birthday or something several years ago. So I'll try and find this one for you, because this one is kind of cool. And I feel like this one is a little bit easier in the sense that there's a little less writing required here. So this is 50 month by month write and draw prompts. So this one, let me try and get, okay. So it does give you a month up here. We don't necessarily follow those, but you could, you know, you could do one. There's a couple pages for each month, so you could maybe do like one a week or something like that. But each page is a little bit different. In this one, the writing prompts, all of these are exactly the same layout. You have a different picture, but the layout is the same. It's going to ask you the same questions. It's going to have that same, you know, the page on this side where you write your story. That's all going to be the same. This one is a little different each time, which also may help. So this one is add leaves to the trees. It gives you a word bank, which is really nice. And then down here, just a couple like finish the sentence type things. This is a picture of, and then they can use their own words if they want, or use from the word bank. The colors of the leaves are, when leaves fall, I like to. And then this one is draw a picture of a firefighter. And so the questions are a little bit different on this one. Let's see, let's find another one that hasn't been, I'm trying to find one that hasn't been written in, because this one does get used a little bit more. Just like I said, because it's a little bit easier, really. This one is a flower journal. So this one is kind of different. Imagine you're growing a flower. What would you say about it in your journal? So draw a picture of the flower's growth and start from when it was a seed. So today and then what did you do? And draw your picture there, this week, now, and then wow. So again, getting them writing and thinking about different things. But that one is just a little bit simpler. There's not so much writing and thinking required. She doesn't have to come up with the sentences on her own. It's more of, here's the beginning of a sentence and just finish off the sentence. So that one is a little bit easier for her. The other thing, as far as writing prompts goes, we are about to finish up the community and connection unit. Which I did a whole video kind of flip through on that one. I will also have a review coming out for you guys on that as well. But one thing that I will go ahead and tell you that I like with that unit is they included writing prompts. At the beginning of each week, there's a list of different writing prompts. And I really liked that. And I liked the writing prompts that were given because they really were engaging. They were thought-provoking. They're just very different than these. And I don't know how to explain it. I feel like these are useful and they are helpful. And we use them. But it was just the prompts given in that unit. They were just so great. I'll give you a couple examples here. One is, what good works do you dream of doing during your time on earth? Amazing. Now, of course, I had to go to our whiteboard and kind of write down some ideas, because that's kind of a big concept for a 6, 7 year old. But we came up with plenty of things, and I just wrote them on the board for her, and then she copied them down. That's okay. We did an acrostic poem. That was super cool. What's your favorite fruit of the spirit and why? From mountains to oceans, God's wonderful works abound. What else has God made majestic and miraculous? So same thing. We just listed a bunch of stuff on the whiteboard, and then she picked however many she wanted to write and wrote them down in her little notebook. So these are what do they call these? Primary journals. I snagged these off Amazon also. I'll try and link for you, but I'm sure you guys have seen these, where it's blank at the top for the picture and then the lines at the bottom. We love these. These are fantastic. So I have these for her to keep track of things like that as well. And this one here, that is what we've been doing, is writing prompts in this one. And I'm hoping to transition to a little more of these than these, and maybe even combining the two, maybe taking the idea or two, or taking an idea out of one of these and writing down a prompt for her in the book, coming up just like those, so a sentence or a question, and having her do that. But just, again, trying to grow on that. And then the other thing is spelling. I've talked about this before. I use this spelling. It's literally just a list that I Googled and came up with, and we will go through these. She has another color of those notebooks that we will just do spelling words, and we just go through the same list over and over and over again until she is confident with them, and that works. That's it for language arts. That's what we do for language arts. I have noticed that once we started implementing this, there was some real confidence that happened, because she tends to get a little overwhelmed or a little frustrated when she doesn't know exactly how to spell something, or how to write something. That seems to stress and overwhelm her. And so we needed spelling anyway, because I really wasn't getting enough spelling out of the Gather Round curriculums anyway. So that kind of worked. But then as we started working through them, and she was realizing, like, you have to practice these, right? You don't just automatically know how to spell all of the words, because she automatically just knew how to read. That came very natural and very easy to her. So that kind of set the expectation that everything was going to be that way. And that obviously is not necessarily true. And so once we started working through that spelling, and she was realizing that she just has to work through those words, then it kind of all just meshed and melded together. And that's what I wanted to happen. And that's why I haven't used a language arts curriculum, because I wanted to really hone in and focus on all of those things and figure out what worked. I didn't want to have to go through a bunch of different curriculums to try and mesh things together when I didn't feel like it was necessary. I felt that I was fully capable of helping her learn to write sentences and to be confident in that. And so I didn't need a curriculum for that. Now, moving forward, we will continue with this until I feel like we really have good mastery of the, writing sentences where there's a little bit less pushback on them. And then I will look at implementing some sort of something for language arts. Maybe. I don't know. I will cross that bridge when we get there. But at this point, this is what works for us. And we're just we're just kind of going with it. Her units require her to write. I mean, that's the thing. Like, it's just the basic concept of writing words and sentences. She has to do that with everything, right? No matter what she's working on, that's what she has to do. And so I don't need her to do that with all of her subjects, with her units. And, we do a little bit of Bible study in the morning. So she has to come up with 2 sentences for Bible study. And there are language arts included in everything. And with her just needing to nail down the basic, I didn't want to add in a whole other subject of language arts because we weren't ready for that yet. And it seemed a little redundant. So that is why we don't use a language arts curriculum. That is what we do instead. I would love to know your thoughts and your feelings. And if you guys have any suggestions, I am open to them. I'm not saying that, I'll never use them or anything like that. I just, quite honestly, I didn't even look to see if there was something that kind of fit what we were doing here, because this is what we're doing and it's working. And why spend money on a curriculum when what we do is working? But if there is something that you think, maybe would be helpful, or that maybe we could look into implementing next year or something like that, feel free to leave that in the comments. But I think that's it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will talk to you soon.